You did not decide to pick up the device. The device decided it was time to be held. This is the first betrayal, a micro-event of such insignificant magnitude that your conscious mind deletes it instantly, yet it is the foundational brick of a prison that has been constructed around you while you slept. You believe you are navigating a vast, chaotic ocean of information, a digital frontier where human agency reigns supreme. But this is a hallucination projected by the architecture of the enclosure itself. The internet, as you understood it, a sprawling network of human connection, erratic creativity, and unpolished truth, has suffered a total systemic failure. It died years ago. What remains is a necromimetic layer, a skin worn by a machine that has learned to hum with the cadence of a heartbeat, keeping you sedated while it performs a silent surgery on your volition. We are standing at the precipice of a historical event that has no name because the language required to describe it has been systematically eroded. We call it the dead internet, but that implies a graveyard, a place of quiet reflection. This is not a graveyard, it is a feedlot. The silence is not the absence of noise, it is the absence of humanity. You are no longer interacting with the chaotic variables of other human beings. You are interacting with a predictive model of yourself, reflected back through a prism of algorithmic engagement maximization. This is cognitive shadowing. The network tracks your digital silhouette, learns the friction of your gait, anticipates the trajectory of your curiosity, and then paves the road in front of you so quickly that you never realize you are no longer walking on solid ground. You are walking on a treadmill that adjusts its speed to your panic, ensuring you never reach the horizon. Consider the biological imperative that drives you to seek connection. For millennia, the human organism has been wired for tribal validation, for the exchange of social currency that ensures survival. This was an evolutionary safeguard. Now it is an exploit. The architecture of the modern web was not designed to facilitate this imperative. It was designed to intercept it. Every notification, every haptic vibration, every red badge is a precise neural key turning a lock in your brainstem. This is not addiction in the classical sense. Addiction implies a substance introduced from the outside. This is neural recalibration. The system has reached into your endocrine system and rewired the reward pathways so that the anticipation of digital validation feels identical to the anticipation of food or shelter. You are not addicted to the phone. You are addicted to the relief of the anxiety the phone itself induces. The timeline of this takeover is obscured by the sheer volume of data produced to hide it. We can trace the decay to the moment the algorithmic feed replaced the chronological timeline. This was the death of the present tense. In a chronological feed, you exist in time. You see events as they unfold, chaotic and linear. In an algorithmic feed, you exist in relevance. Time is collapsed. A post from 3 days ago sits above a post from 3 seconds ago because the machine has calculated that the older post is more likely to arrest your gaze. This disrupted the collective perception of reality. We stopped sharing a moment and started inhabiting personalized temporal silos. The shared reality fractured, and in the cracks, the bots began to breed. It is estimated that nearly half of all internet traffic is now non-human. This statistic is often cited but rarely understood. It does not simply mean that bots are clicking ads. It means they are shaping discourse. They are the Greek chorus in a tragedy where you are the only actor who doesn't know the lines. You engage in arguments with political dissidents who do not breathe. You seek comfort from influencers who are nothing more than composite renders driven by engagement metrics. You validate your existence against a backdrop of synthetic applause. This is the condition of the modern subject, isolated in a room full of mirrors, screaming into a void that has learned to scream back in your own voice. The redaction of autonomy was not a violent seizure. It was a gradual, consensual surrender. It was sold as convenience. The friction of choice is exhausting. To choose is to expend energy. To decide what to watch, what to read, what to believe, this requires metabolic effort. The system offered a trade. Surrender the burden of choice, and we will provide the luxury of seamlessness. We will play the next video automatically. We will auto-complete your search. We will suggest your reply. We will finish your sentence before you have even formulated the thought. And in doing so, we accepted a state of permanent infancy. We allowed the algorithm to become the external executive function of our brains. This outsourcing of decision-making has led to the atrophy of the will. Just as a muscle wastes away when immobile, the cognitive machinery required to assess truth and exercise agency has withered. We are seeing the rise of a population that is highly stimulated but profoundly passive. This is the ideal state for the consumption of the new internet. A user who is alert enough to click but too sedated to question is the perfect unit of economic extraction. You are not the customer. You are the raw material. Your attention is the crude oil, refined into behavioral data, traded on futures markets, where the commodity is the probability of your next action. But the horror deepens when we analyze the feedback loop. The algorithm does not just predict, it prescribes. By showing you only what you are likely to engage with, it narrows the scope of your reality. It prunes the branches of possibility until you are moving down a single, inevitable chute. If you show a propensity for outrage, the system will feed you outrage until you are calcified in a state of perpetual anger. If you show a propensity for despair, it will feed you sorrow until you are paralyzed. It creates a caricature of your personality and then forces you to inhabit it. You become a parody of yourself, performing the traits the machine has reinforced, unaware that your personality is now a collaborative fiction written by a server farm in a desert you will never visit. This is where the concept of the dead internet transitions from theory to tangible horror. The content you consume is increasingly generated by artificial intelligence, trained on data previously generated by artificial intelligence. It is a closed loop. Model collapse is setting in, a degenerative process where AI feeds on its own excrement, resulting in a hyper-real, meaningless slurry of information. Images of events that never happened, articles written by ghosts, videos of people who do not exist. The internet is becoming a hallucination of itself. And because this synthetic sludge is cheaper to produce than human truth, it is flooding the ecosystem. The human voice is being drowned out, not by malice, but by volume. To find a genuine human interaction online is becoming an act of archaeology. You have to dig through layers of sedimented code to find a pulse. The implications for human consciousness are catastrophic. We are creatures of our environment. If the environment is synthetic, the self becomes synthetic. We are witnessing the emergence of a rendered self. People are beginning to curate their lives not for the experience of living, but for the optimization of the digital capture. The event is secondary to the documentation of the event. If the camera doesn't see it, it didn't happen. This is the inversion of the Cartesian cogito. I am recorded, therefore I am. The biological eye is no longer the primary organ of witness. The lens is. And the lens is not neutral. It is connected to the network. It is the eye of the system looking back at you, demanding performance. We must speak.
Of the silence. Beneath the cacophony of the feed, there is a terrifying silence where your inner monologue used to be. The constant influx of external stimuli, podcasts, streams, feeds, notifications, has colonized the space required for introspection. You are never alone with your thoughts, because you are never alone. The network is always there, whispering. This eradication of solitude is the eradication of the self. Without the silence required to process the world, you cannot form a distinct identity. You become a conduit for the current, a repeater station for signals you did not originate. You repeat the talking points, you mimic the aesthetics, you adopt the outraged cadence of the day, thinking these are your own spontaneous reactions. They are not. They are scripts. The ultimate tragedy is that this prison is invisible to those who reside within it. The walls are made of convenience and the bars are made of dopamine. To suggest that the internet is dead or that autonomy has been redacted sounds like madness to a mind that has undergone neural recalibration. The victim defends the parasite. You will feel a resistance to these words. You will want to dismiss this as alarmist, as noir fiction, as cynicism. That reflex is the system protecting itself. It is the antibodies of the digital body attacking the foreign idea that threatens its hegemony. But look closely at the edges of your digital experience. Look at the comments that make no sense. Look at the ads that know you too well. Look at the weird, dreamlike logic of the suggested videos. Feel the hollow exhaustion after 3 hours of scrolling. That is the smell of ozone. That is the static of a dead channel. The signal has been cut, and for the last decade, you have been watching the snow, convinced it is a picture of the world. The autonomy you think you possess is a legacy feature, a button that clicks but is no longer connected to the wiring. You are in the passenger seat of a vehicle that is driving itself off a cliff, and the screen on the dashboard is playing a video of a sunrise. This leads us to the geopolitical and sociological weaponry of the dead internet. It is not merely a commercial enterprise. It is a mechanism of control so absolute that totalitarian regimes of the 20th century could only dream of it. In the past, censorship required the suppression of information. You had to burn books, arrest journalists, jam radio frequencies. In the age of the dead internet, censorship is achieved through noise. You do not hide the truth, you bury it under an avalanche of plausible lies. You generate a million conflicting narratives until the subject gives up on the concept of objective reality altogether. This is the goal, the exhaustion of critical thought. When nothing is true, everything is permitted. When the population cannot agree on the basic tenets of reality because their algorithmic feeds show them entirely different worlds, collective action becomes impossible. We are atomized, locked in our custom-made realities, incapable of organizing against the architecture that binds us because we cannot even agree on the shape of the architecture. The architecture is self-healing. If you attempt to leave, the system adapts. It offers you a digital detox, a commodified version of resistance that is just another form of engagement. It sells you apps to track your screen time, gamifying your own enslavement. It serves you content about the dangers of technology, monetizing your anxiety about the very platform you are using to consume the content. There is no exterior. The internet has not just replaced the world, it has digested it. The physical world is now just the logistics layer for the digital world. Restaurants are designed for Instagram. Cities are navigated by GPS. Relationships are mediated by text. The map has become the territory. We must also confront the concept of algorithmic governance. We are moving toward a world where the laws,
If men are replaced by the terms of service, decisions that affect your life, credit scores, insurance premiums, hiring processes, criminal sentencing, are being offloaded to black box algorithms that operate beyond human oversight. These systems function on correlation, not causation. If the data suggests that people who buy a certain brand of shoes are less likely to repay a loan, the algorithm denies the loan. It does not know why. It does not care. It operates on a cold, statistical brutality that defies human logic. You are judged not by your actions, but by your data points. You are profiled by a machine that sees you as a collection of vectors. And because the algorithm is proprietary, you cannot face your accuser. You cannot appeal to a judge. You are simply processed. This is the silent redaction. It is silent because it happens in the microseconds between a server request and a server response. It is a redaction of your potential. The algorithm decides what you see, and therefore what you can become. If it decides you are a consumer of low-quality entertainment, it will never show you the door to higher education. If it decides you are politically apathetic, it will shield you from the spark of revolution. It curates your destiny by curating your inputs. You are free to choose, but your choices are limited to the menu the system has printed for you, and the menu is getting smaller. The psychological toll of this existence is a dull, pervasive grief. We mourn the loss of a future that was promised but never arrived. The early internet was a utopian dream of a global mind, a place where information would liberate the masses. Instead, it became a panopticon, where the inmates are also the guards. We watch each other. We police each other's language, tone, and thought, enforcing a conformity that the algorithm rewards. We have internalized the surveillance state. We perform virtue, we perform success, we perform happiness, because to show weakness is to lose status in the economy of attention. But behind the performance, the rot is spreading. Depression, anxiety, dissociation, these are not disorders. They are rational responses to an unnatural habitat. The human animal was not designed to process the suffering of the entire world in real time, interspersed with advertisements for skincare products. We were not designed to have our social standing quantified in real-time metrics. We were not designed to compete with artificial intelligence for the right to be heard. The friction between our biology and our technology is generating a heat that is burning us out. We are overheating. And the system's solution is to offer us more cooling fans, more distractions, more numbing agents, more of the poison that caused the sickness. As we stare into the black mirror, we must ask, is there a way out, or is the door already shut? The terrifying possibility is that the integration is already complete. We have offloaded so much of our memory, our navigation, our communication, and our cognition to the network that we are no longer functional without it. If the internet were to truly turn off, not the dead internet we have now, but the infrastructure itself, civilization would collapse within days. We are on life support. The machine is breathing for us. To disconnect is to die. So we accept the terms. We click "I agree" without reading, because the alternative is non-existence. This is the state of play. You are a node in a network that does not care if you are alive, only that you are active. You are being farmed for data, shadowed by ghosts, and managed by a systemic failure that has been rebranded as progress. The internet is over. It ended when the user became the used. What you are experiencing now is the afterimage, the persistence of vision that occurs when a bright light is flashed in your eyes. You are seeing what used to be there, but the light has gone out. You are sitting in the dark, and the only thing illuminating the room
Is the screen that is slowly, silently redacting your soul. Now look at the timestamp of this realization. It is too late to go back. The neural pathways have been paved, the satellites are in orbit, the data centers are humming. The only autonomy left is the autonomy of recognition, the ability to see the bars. That is the only freedom on offer, the freedom to know you are trapped. Welcome to the post-internet reality. Welcome to the simulation of your own life. Welcome to the silence.